right, this is part 2. Let's jump on in. We're going to talk about the endometrium.
I see the crystal raindrops.
Hi, how are you, fertility fam? Welcome to Sunday Cycle Science with Simply Tanika. I am Tanika. Thanks for joining. All right, this is part 2. Let's jump on in. We're going to talk about the endometrium. So last video, if you didn't see it, we talked about the ovulatory phases or the ovarian phases. And so now we're going to talk about the endometrium. So endometrium, what is it? It consists of glands and supportive connective tissue, which is called stroma. It has a basal layer, an intermediate spongy layer, the spongiosa layer, and a layer of compact epithelial cells that line the uterine cavity. Together, the spongiosa and epithelial layers form the functionalis, a transient layer that is sloughed during the menses, right? So those are the top two. They're going to go away when you have your period. Then you have that base layer, that basal layer that stays the same. All right. So during the menstrual cycle, the endometrium cycle has its own 3 phases, menstrual, proliferative, and secretory, which is secretion, so secretory. After menstruation, the endometrium is typically thin with dense supportive tissue and narrow, straight tubular glands lined with low epithelium. So after menstruation, the endometrium is typically thin with dense supportive tissue and narrow, straight tubular glands. The proliferative phase of the endometrial cycle, what happens during that second phase? As estrogen levels increase, which we learned in video 1 that happened, the intact basal layer regenerates the endometrium to its maximum thickness late in the ovarian follicular phase. So like when we're going into the RE, for those of us who are visiting REs, that's when they're checking that thickness of the lining, right? Toward the end of the follicular phase, which is in the ovarian cycle, it's called the follicular phase, and it's mid-cycle for us. The mucus thickens and the glands lengthen and coil, becoming twisty. So that's when it's rebuilding itself there. And then the last phase is the secretory phase. Ovulation occurs at the beginning of the secretory phase of the endometrial cycle. During the ovarian luteal phase, progesterone stimulates the endometrial glands to dilate, fill with glycogen, and become secretory, while stromal vascularity increases. So that blood flow is going, and that everything's moving along. That connective tissue, which is the stroma, is getting a lot of blood flow to it in the secretory phase. As estrogen and progesterone levels decrease late in the luteal/secretory phase, the stroma becomes edematous, like edema. Think of edema like that swelling, and accumulation of an excess amount of watery fluids in the cell. That's edema. Like when we're pregnant or whatnot, we'll have like lower extremity edema. Your ankles are swelling, your feet are swelling. So it's that same type of thing. The stroma becomes edematous. It's becoming filled with fluid, and then the endometrium and its blood vessels become necrose. So they're dying off, right? Leading to bleeding and menstrual flow. So it's starting all over again. The menstrual phase of the endometrial cycle. Fibrinolytic activity of the endometrium decreases blood clots in the menstrual blood. So in a normal menstrual cycle, you should not see blood clotting, or if you have any, it should be very little, and that's caused by that fibrinolytic activity. Just because it needs to flow out smoothly, and if it's clotting, it's stopping it, right? So that defeats the purpose of kind of sloughing off those 2 layers of the endometrium. So that is the endometrium and its 3 phases. So those are kind of, we talked about in the first one, the ovarian cycles, and now we talked about the endometrium cycle. So those kind of partner together as we're going through trying to make our baby. So I just want to make sure we all have a basic foundation on what that is. And then in the next video, I'm going to go over the reproductive organs. So that'll be video number 3. Just so, again, we all have that basic foundation as we start off with our Sunday cycle science. And so we can can go forth and conquer with that good foundation underneath us. All right, ladies, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please remember to share it with anyone who you think might find it useful. And I look forward to talking to you in the comments below. Bye. Mwah. Baby dust to you all.
Till raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rain